This is Classic18 902. This is called All I Want for Christmas with the toy shop window. Let's take a look at what's in here. Here's our topper sheet. We've got this one ginormous topper here. It's a 3-piece topper set. 2 nice borders, another nice size image here, and some smaller images that all have writing on them. Here's another nice shot of that toy store window with a pretty border across the top and these pretty trees. And holly covered borders. Let's see what we did with those. We'll start with this great big one. This is the card we made out of the large set. This is a 6x6 card. I've covered my 6x6 with mirror board. And then I have glued down the 2 outer frames. I've put my inner frame up on some foam squares. I've generously glittered. I love, this had so much snow laying in the windows and quite a lot of snow on the trees, so it went a little heavier with my glitters on these, and I think they really turned out pretty as a result of that. But I pretty much followed all the places where it was showing heavier glitter and a little bit heavier line of glue. In fact, this time I used this one for actually laying down my glue lines so that I could get a little heavier line of glue in those snow on the windowsills and on the branches. Now, take a look at this bow. This is different than the bows I've taught you to tie before, so I thought that when we finish this, after looking at the insert and our little word tag we had here, this one says, "May all your wishes come true." I thought we'd go ahead and take a little stop out here, and I'm going to teach you to tie that bow. Now, this one was actually tied with our new bow maker. I'm going to show you those. This is the one I have a tutorial on, and it's still, candidly, it's still my first love. I'll show you why in a moment. But this is a new one that we have in stock. I expected this to be a lot smaller. I thought it would look more like this without a handle from the picture. It's ginormous, but it has some pros and cons. One of the advantages of this great big new bow maker is that you can make a lot larger bows. You can certainly make your package and tree bows on this as well as your bows for your cards. You can make bows anywhere from 1 inch up to 10-inch bows. And just as with the tattered lace one, this one has the numbers out here on the tine to show you your different bow sizes. It has a couple of different slots, just like our tattered lace does, so that you have a place to hold your ribbons while you're manipulating your ribbons around. One advantage of this one is the size, because you can do larger bows where you're a little bit limited with this one to the size of the bows that you can tie. A disadvantage, however, is that you don't have as many choices in this range right here, which is where we as card makers are primarily going to work. An advantage is if you're going to be tying like crocheted ribbons where they're very wide, you actually will have an easier time manipulating those with the wider tines in this one. I've shown you in our video that you can do it with this. It's a little tighter fit. This will handle virtually any of those. This bow right here was actually tied on this bow maker. Now, what inspired me to try tying this bow like this was that I didn't have as many teeth available, and I wanted to just kind of explore what I could tie on here. So I want to show you how I did this one. I tied this bow as we would with our pink bow maker. I tied this bow, I came over here to my 2-inch mark. I came back around the back on 2 inches like I normally would. And then, as you know, if we were tying a single bow, we would go right through here and come up through the back. But this time, instead of going through there, I went to 3 inches So I just crossed over, came to 3 here, and then I tied a third loop by going back to 2 and going to 2 again. Now don't worry that it kind of crunches down there, it's going to do that. And I way overcut my ribbon here. I can probably use this to make another one. I put my thread or my ribbon through the hole as we usually would. I'm going to turn it so that it's going to be face up when I pull it through. I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to come across this side, and I'm going to come right through the center, and I'm going to pull this down. Now I'm going to unloose this tie from my bow maker. And I'm going to tie my knot. And I'm going to slide my bow off. And look what we get. We get 2 smaller loops, 1 larger loop. Now just as with the other bow maker, you probably are going to want to tighten this up a little bit as you take it off. You want to be careful that you're pulling consistently with the 2 ties, or you'll pull your bow out of shape. If you do pull it out of shape, you can kind of pull it back this way and that way again to get it back in shape again. But let's pull our little loops out here. I can straighten those out a little bit here and there as necessary. Pull these out. I've got that beautiful tie across the center. And I've got that pretty satiny shape bow. Now, I want to put fishtails on mine like I did on this one. I'm going to fold my ribbon in half, face in, and I'm going to clip it at an angle from bottom to top, and I'm going to end up with those pretty fishtails. I can come over here and do the same thing. I want that in half. Clip it upwards. And there we go. We've tied that pretty little bow with the different size loops. Isn't that beautiful? And then when you put your best glue ever on the back of this, you can move these tails anywhere you want. If you want them out to the side, if you want one up, one down, you can move these any which way. But you can keep your loops all where you want them by making sure that you put best glue ever on the back to hold it in hold everything in place, so that when you put it on your card, it will stay nice and foofy just the way you tied it. So I hope that helps a little bit. This was tied using the big bow maker. Okay, let's move on with our other cards here. Here's our smaller window. We're using the smaller topper off of this sheet. We're using this as our background material. Now I wanted this holly to come down further. So if you look really carefully, you can see that after I covered my this is an A4 card again, approximately 4 by 6. After I covered that with gold mirror board, I cut this paper slightly narrower so that my edges would show around of my mirror board. And then I cut this to the width that I could use to get that in there and still let my mirror show. And once I trimmed this sheet, then I cut it in half, and I fit my 2 pieces together and cut the extra bulk out of the center so that I could join those. See the little join line there? Can you see that on camera, honey? You see the tiny little join line there? That's the whole point. Is it's not easy to spot. You wouldn't know it was there if I didn't tell you. But I just did that to collapse the top down and have it match my bottom. Matching insert paper on the inside. And finally, here's the corner of our cardstock. I've I've actually used a 4.5 by 4.5 card. Now it's an unusual card size. You certainly could use a 5 by 5. I used 4.5 by 4.5 because it was in my drawer. And I covered the front of my card with, actually I cut a 1/2 inch off my card, just a little under a 1/2 inch off the face of my card. I covered the face of my card with Mary. I cut my topper slightly smaller to allow my Mary to show. I had it all glittered up, as we've already talked about. I tied a pretty little organza bow, and I put this greeting up on foam squares. And then on the inside, I put down my insert paper, cut around it, and then I took that piece of border off of here, and I used this piece of border on the side so that when I close the card, that shows from the outside. It just kind of adds an extra little touch to the card, just something unusual and unexpected. But I thought that was really pretty when it was done. Okay, here's our 3 cards from this kit with their pretty snow accents. And we've also tied our pretty bow using our We Are Memory Keepers bow maker. One thing I didn't say about this one is that this comb here is priced at $9.99, which is roughly half the price of the Embellishment Attic bow maker. So that's certainly a consideration. We'll have both versions on our supplies list for our newsletter recipients. If you're not currently receiving our newsletter, I'll have a link to our newsletter on this page on YouTube. Click on that link and you can get a copy of our supplies list for all future videos. We'd be happy to send that to you. It will also, newsletter recipients also get special coupons and promotions that are not generally available. So if you're not currently a newsletter subscriber, I certainly recommend it. It's Debbie from Simply Special. We'll see you next time.